Hello. It's great to be back here with you all. Some of you are here from the earlier panel, which is good. So some repeat people. Oh, I'm getting some background feedback from somewhere. So if that's you, please do something about it. We're here today to talk about AI for SCOM and beyond, which is a topic that's so tempting. We started to scratch it in the earlier panel discussion, and I'm hoping we'll continue to scratch now. But before we get into that panel discussion, let me introduce my panelists. So, Bob, I'll introduce you first, given that you were on about 2 seconds ago, so you don't really need much introduction. All I need to say about you is you've got SCOM in your name. SCOM, Bob. It's great to have you here. Clearly, a worthy contender for this discussion. Hello. And Stoyan, you're back with us again. You joined us earlier, and of course, your PowerShell session was earlier on as well, which is really good, by the way. Great to see some interest and engagement, people asking for the scripts. That's always a good sign, isn't it? Thank you for returning once more.
Thank you for having me again, guys.
That's okay. Then we have Vincent back for more. You were also joining us earlier. You're CIO at OpsLogix. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Bruce.
No problem. That's always the fun of these things, so know when to come off mute. Then we have Marine. Hello, how are you?
Hi guys, I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Good. I'm well, yes. And you're from Gritmatics, and you're clearly a very worthy person to be here because you guys have just put out a ChatGPT integration. So you'll be fully versed in AI in the form of generative AI and ChatGPT, which is obviously only one small piece of AI. There's plenty that can be covered off in this discussion. But just to set the stage, clearly, whatever we think of AI, it is coming. So it's good to be fully up to speed and to understand what it can do for us and what it can't do for us, SCOM and kind of beyond. So I guess the first thing really to say is, what is AI and what can it do for us? Who wants to take a stab at that?
Sure. Well, just because we've been playing around with AI for a while at OpsLogix, I think I can answer it. AI is basically it's a set of algorithms. That's the basics of it. And before you had machine learning, which was a set amount of algorithms or a set algorithm you could use, and basically AI is more into the field of where you have a more specific algorithm, and this is an algorithm making use of neurons and used to be perceptrons, but basically mimicking the human brain. And one of the big issues in the past was, well, not so much actually creating these neurons or this neural network basically, but it was the training of that neural network. Now, people have become much better at it, or companies have become much better at it, at creating these models too. And the models have become larger and more complex, and the training methods have become more complex. So, but basically, it's only really algorithms which you try to train with specific data. The only thing about it is that as we train them more and as the models become bigger, we understand them less of what's actually happening inside of them.
Which is the potentially scary bit about it, but it sounds like potentially really cool technology. So bring it to SCOM then. What's the application? What are the possible things we could look to do with AI and SCOM? I'm going to put that to Marijn first.
Yeah, I think to understand that, we should first talk about event management, I think, because I think it can really support event management in a way we haven't seen before. So I think it's good to understand what event management is first. And to me, it's just a systematic approach to detect all occurrences in an IT estate. The occurrences are the events, and some events are important, some are less important. And we try to avoid events. We try to fix them as soon as possible, so the user experience will be at its best all the time. So we try to optimize things. So we do that with a lot of people in most organizations, especially the larger organizations. And because of that, you need to set some rules, I think. And most organizations do, but not all. And it is these rules that will make IT operations work optimally. And you have several roles in the event management process. And to understand what AI can do in event management, in monitoring, you first have to define those roles and then come to a determination of how can I put AI to good use for those roles. Mm-hmm. So I think there are several roles. So and the first one, of course, is detecting and monitoring events. That's what SCOM does, actually. So it's not only roles, but also systems that support the process. And in the case of event management, SCOM is a good way of supporting event management, obviously. So we already have a tool that supports event management, and now AI comes in and things get more complex, which makes it more important to have a regulated event management process, a consistent event management process, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So that makes sense. So what do you think the role of AI is in the event management process? I could infer it from what you're saying, but I think what are the panel's views on what it could be?
Well, the most important thing, of course, what we do in event management is detecting the events, right? And SCOM is doing that, so it's supporting in that. It's generating alerts for some events, but it's not that good in tracking or detecting some sort of patterns that could mean an event, an occurrence. So I think in that way, AI can really support the event management process like we haven't seen before. So SCOM, as it works now, it's just rather rule-based what we see. So if this condition happens, then we have an event. But it's not that good in detecting patterns. Yeah. So there's a role in AI for sure, I guess.
I can add to that, really, because I think we have some experience in that already. Basically, and this is a shameless plug, but we have the product Easy Alert already, which makes use of machine learning already. And what we found is that a lot of people, it's not so much about the product itself, but it's more about the attitude which people have towards it. So a lot of people, they look at it and they think it's great because you can train a model and then you can tell it to basically say, hey, I don't want these type of alerts. I do want these type of alerts. And it'll do it pretty well. But there's a fear within organizations that this kind of artificial intelligence or this algorithm might miss something. And, this is something they find mentally, it's like a mental block. They find very hard to get over this. Saying, well, I'm not sure if I want to let this AI decide for me if this alert is correct or not.
It's all about trust, right?
Yeah.
Eventually.
So that's very interesting. So you're telling me the problems are not the AI and the ML, but the people. That's a surprise to me. Interesting.
Yeah.
So you mentioned ML in there. You mentioned right at the beginning that one of the issues with that ML is finding a big enough data set to train it on. What does that mean for sort of training ML for SCOM? Is there enough data there? I mean, obviously, you and I, it feels like there's a lot of alerts that come in, but is that enough?
Yeah, I think it depends how you want to train it, because you have like different training methods. If you want to train it by hand, so humanly train, then you can train as you go. So it'll just watch which alerts are closed and which are left open and which are forwarded and the resolution states of those. But if you want like more of a recursive model, then where the basically the AI trains itself after a while, then that's totally different. So then you need a training set like a data warehouse beforehand, which has past reference of closed and open alerts.
Yeah, which makes sense. 'Cause at the end of the day, they are, if they've been closed by people or monitors, I guess, for the most part, then it's a fair proxy for hand train. It's just is that enough? I guess, and it sounds like yes, which is cool.
And there is some ML. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go on. No, you go first.
There is some ML in SCOM already. You have some self-tuning monitors, only they're not widely adopted. But you can use those, and those are certainly pretty good algorithms.
We basically also touched the topic during SCOM, if you remember, Bruce, where Nathan did a great demo on the topic. And I think it was very interesting because he did it within really a small amount of time, but still it came to show how big this could be really as a topic.
Yeah, I think what Nathan did, he pulled a library, a Microsoft ML library, and baked what he built on top of that. But I didn't know there was ML in SCOM natively. Has anyone else come across that in use anywhere?
Not much.
Okay,
not much. Only a few default monitors which are using it, but I've never seen people just create a management pack or create a monitor or something and go for that. No. It's being used very rarely.
We've got a SCOM theme for next time around then. This is great. That sounds good. Well, moving on then a little bit. So, Marianne, you talked about roles. There are multiple roles involved in event management and that people and potentially AI could fill. Would you like to elaborate a bit more on what you mean? What sorts of roles are we talking about here?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think it's the event management process should be as important for an organization as incident management, for instance, especially when implementing AI, because things get more complicated. So obviously you would need an event manager that is assessing the process from time to time if everybody is obeying the rules. You have the operations team, the IT operations team. Obviously, they are the ones that are using SCOM, for instance, or another enterprise monitoring platform to detect events by getting alerts, solve them. But most of the time, no, sorry, that's not true. But a lot of times they cannot solve it. They have to dispatch it to some other specialized team. For instance, I don't know, a Linux team, a SQL team. So you have this technical specialist teams, I think. And then, of course, you have us, the monitoring people, creating monitoring, fine-tuning monitoring, creating automation tasks so they can fix stuff themselves the next time if they couldn't do it before. I think the service desk has some direct relation with it. They get the calls from the customers and have to pinpoint together with operations if there's any event related to that incident, etc. So a lot of roles you see in an IT organization. I think AI can definitely support the IT operations staff role in detecting, but also diagnosing, obviously, and eventually, I also think solving events together, so that AI learns and learns more and more by machine learning, and then eventually it learns how to fix certain events it has seen before, because not only it was trained on it, but it got feedback on how to train it. So you get more processes, like I said before. It makes this game more complex. Hence the need for a good event management process. But if you have that, I think you will you can succeed to get the most out of AI. and not only when it comes to detecting, but also the fixing of alerts. It needs to be in the minds, in the spirit of the organization, that you want to continuously train your operators to automate things. And if you have that mindset, I think you're good to go eventually for adapting AI, because like you have to create automated tasks and train people, you have to train the AI, right? And provide the AI with automated tasks to solve things automatically and learn from it.
I think that's where AI is going to get really interesting, because the fear factor we talked about earlier, I would suspect, will be compounded in the case you're getting it to actually fix stuff, because of the what if it gets it wrong factor. But as you say, what's the difference between training AI and training a human? At the end of the day, humans make mistakes. Humans are not infallible. So that would be very interesting to see.
So I think it's all about trust. Maybe in the beginning, you cannot trust it very much. So you have to validate things, the decisions it made, the diagnosis it came with. But then eventually you will see, 90% of the time it was not wrong. It was right. So maybe we can leave it alone a little bit, and only from time to time, maybe at the end of the week, see what happened, what went wrong, what went okay.
Well, I think we already have automation, right? So we have stuff which are, runbooks or orchestrator, for example, which we train basically to see one thing happening and then run all of these checks, and maybe you have a loop in it. For example, run this 3 times. If you can't fix it, send me an email and stop running the loop. All of that stuff is already there in automation. The only thing is that that system reacts like to a fixed thing in a fixed way, right? And you need to make sure that at some point AI, if it does it the same way, that it doesn't, starts going, but now I see something different. Oh, let's apply the same automation to it.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's consistent in the same way, then it's just computer code, and then it'll connect to automation.
But I think that's the.
Go ahead.
I think that's the difficult part with AI again, because if you run a rule and it doesn't fix it after 3 times, and then it'll send you a mail, and what the action was. It's like restart the service, failed, restart the service, failed, and a 3rd time fails. Okay, you get an email. But what about if you hook up a AI to this and say, well, fix it for me? And then, you're not sure what it's going to do. And are you sure that you want to give this AI your admin account to fix this stuff? See, I really think that's the issue here. And again, it's an issue of trust.
Yeah, but I think it has to go in stages. Mm-hmm. So obviously we don't want to give the AI a PowerShell prompt and domain admin rights. No. But you can provide it SCOM tasks with certain permissions, right? And do it that way. And I want to go back to what Bob was mentioning earlier. You can automate things already, right, in SCOM. That is rather rule-based in the broad sense of the word. I think you can use AI everywhere where that is not feasible, or because you would have to automate too much, because you have to know all the different conditions that can happen. So for all those unforeseen scenarios, I think AI is very applicable.
For sure, it will start with anomaly detection and predictive analysis, and then after some time, when it's really good enough, then we can think about forcing it to do recoveries, to take recovery actions and all the stuff like this. But I think the basic stuff will be really anomaly detection, predictive analysis, which will help then really pinpoint the problem somewhere.
All right.
Yeah, I fully agree with you.
So all in all, speeding up the detection, troubleshooting, and ultimately resolution of events. The thing that's interesting to me in this area is event management as a broad discipline. So SCOM, yes, but outside of SCOM, large enterprises, my experience of this is ServiceNow's event management platform, by the way, which is where I'm kind of coming at this from. It's a massive event management system that has been using AI ops which is a whole category of tool in itself for quite a long time to correlate like things and to be able to suggest suggestions to resolve things and ultimately fix or at least suggest fixes to issues. I've not seen anyone actually use it to automatically fix things. What do you guys think of the use and application of tools that are more broader to something like SCOM? Is there more value in keeping things like AI in SCOM natively, or are you looking at bigger AI tools that pull it all together?
Yeah, I hope someday we have tools like an AI tool system that has a lot of plugins into ServiceNow, SCOM, maybe Log Analytics, Azure Monitor, stuff like that. And that way you can ask any question to that AI instance. You can ask questions about the health or performance of certain objects, particularly, or just an overall overview. That will be great. A system that is easily to be integrated with other systems.
Right. I think I also discussed this. I discussed this also during the keynote, right? So you have obviously making alerts clearer, which is one of the things that Marijn did in his first ChatGPT connector management pack version. Vincent is looking at helping tuning, for example. I don't want to see these events, I want to see those events. We just also connected it to maybe helping with resolving things by running an automation which already exists likely, and maybe later on becoming better and better at it. But also looking at observability, we are also looking at bringing together data from multiple tools. Maybe one of those options would be to throw it into Log Analytics, which then can make it universally queried, and then using an AI, which is basically what is being done with the security data from Defender and from other tools like firewalls into Security Center and Sentinel. So we just need that for the other data as well, and make it actually look for root causes. If a router goes down, then the DNS server has problems, then AD has problems, then everything has problems basically. But you need to find out where it started, and then find the right resolution, because otherwise you'll be stuck at fixing AD or DNS while it's actually a router being down. Whatever works that way. So I think that is where the future is leading us to get more into the data lake, and then trying to make sense of it like that. And I've actually seen multiple customers of mine try and build that for themselves, which is a massive undertaking.
Yes,
and I would love to see cloud-based centralized storage in some way, because it's huge, and then filtering through it, which costs a lot of CPU or let's say processing power, which only these big models can provide in some way.
And that could prevent alert noise as well, right? AI look into all that data and check for issues, for anomalies, and then alert you.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that it shows you like, hey, all of this is broken, because you would still want to know what is broken on the front end. So people are calling you for this, that, and that. However, what is my root cause? Go and fix that, right? So if it at least it shows like, fix that root cause first, and then all of these services are down meanwhile, and then you will actually see that they are becoming available again. So that's your visibility part of it.
A very good correlation system, actually.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they could make a system like Copilot, which they did for GitHub. If you could run a query over multiple logs from a lot of different companies, which unfortunately not that many companies are willing to do, but it would be an interesting experiment.
Oh, it'd be a very interesting experiment. If any more companies would be up for sharing data in that way, yeah, it'd be very interesting. You could definitely see the application of AI in that form. Yeah, it makes total sense. And just on the sort of future direction stuff from the SCOM product team's presentation earlier on, and they had a line pointing from SCOM to Azure Monitor and related tooling, and in that tool stack was stuff like log analytics. So it sounds like they didn't say that exactly, but that diagram implied that is coming. It's not the AI piece, but it's laying the foundations for potential future applications of AI, which is very, very cool. I'm just going to quickly bring up a comment from a LinkedIn commenter. For whatever reason, my platform isn't telling me who. But pointing to the importance of forecasting and using AI in that way. I wonder if my panel here had any thoughts on using AI for forecasting based on past data.
Yeah, it could do that eventually, of course. Maybe already we have some applications like that. Splunk, it's IT. I don't remember the word, but Splunk does some forecasting. I think it's already there based on past data. It can forecast, predict.
Yeah, I think for me, it comes down to
you guys had something, right?
Say again?
Vincent, I think you guys had something like that, right? Looking at forecasting, especially performance forecasting.
Yeah,
but,
we have capacity reports, which but that usually that just uses simple regression for data points, performance, and those kind of things. So that wouldn't be AI, but yeah, certainly I think AI would be a welcome addition to that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a nice addition.
People are saying it, that they want that as well, right? So forecasting, looking towards the future based on the performance, for example, but even more like forecasting other things as well, forecasting new alerts or incidents, or even what that would mean to the application which will go down if the other application goes down. So that would be all interesting stuff.
Knock-on impacts of A on B. We're talking here obviously about this in the context of alerts and events and SCOM, but let's not forget the other applications within IT. So cost, forecasting of cost, anomaly detection in that area. That to me, that stuff is fascinating. I've been looking into that recently. But anyhow, before we run out of time, which I think we basically are at, I'm going to ask you one more question, which is for your predictions for the future of AI in the area of SCOM and events specifically. Who wants to take that first?
There will be a shift in human roles. Work that is being done by humans at the moment will be done by AI. No doubt about that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that people needs to get fired. I think you could also set your goals higher, right? But besides that, and I mean the goals of the company, right? The organization. If you are more productive, you can set your goals higher. You could do things on a larger scale. But next to that, people get other roles like training and giving feedback, supervising AI. I think there will be a shift in human roles that way. And so don't worry.
I agree.
We're doing things differently, and there will be other jobs.
Yeah.
And embrace it. You better embrace it, right? Otherwise, yeah.
In my personal opinion, it will take some time until SCOM and AI can work together, or other tools which are out there in Azure. I mean, it will be small steps, which eventually will lead to a bigger AI implementation, but it will take some time. So what we see currently on the market with text-based AI, it is not going to be that easy to bring this here into SCOM. My personal opinion. Let's wait and see.
Interesting. Bob, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So adding to that, I think we first need some prerequisites, right? So again, we need to, if we want AI to work like that, we need to have a centralized storage. Of course, we do have that within SCOM, but not for every tool together. And the second thing is the way of querying it. So at some point, it might be easier to use a more modern storage method, for example, log analytics or whatever, to have a uniform way of querying it and then adding the AI to it. So it needs a few of those prerequisite steps, which first needs it to be connected to the cloud, and then data moved over or being able to move over. And then you can actually use it for querying, dashboarding, and then you can use it to attach more automated systems and AIs to it, I think. Of course, whenever we are talking about text-based stuff already, we see, Marijn and Vincent are good examples of that. They are working already with the connectivity with the chat GPTs and those kind of things, right? And machine learning to use it. So it's already there. It's already possible. But, if you go one step further, then it will become complex, and then you need your prerequisites first.
And good event management process, because things get more complicated. And
Yeah, no matter how good the AI is, if the foundations are shaky, it's just not going to work. I think, I agree with that. Vincent?
Oh, I tend to agree with Stian. I mean, basically, I think there will be lots of small add-ons to SCOM, basically with AI, and either in the end there will be so many little add-ons that you basically have a massive AI working with SCOM, or SCOM will be replaced or completely revamped.
I'm sure you're not entirely wrong. The one thing that is most interesting to me about this whole thing, apart from where will AI go in the future, is the whole point about data storage, moving around masses and masses of data to data lake. It just doesn't feel like the answer. Maybe the ability to create something, I don't know. I'm not a database expert. Feels like it's possibly achievable, but no, it's just interesting. Anyway, that is us out of time. So before we move on, I'd like to say thank you very much to my panel. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, Stan, Bob, and Marijn. It's been a really awesome chat as ever. And I will hand back to Jason and Sean